Welcome to the Fowler College of Business Management Major Career Pathway Series. I'm your host, Andy Esparza, and I'm really excited to spotlight our alums and how the management major helped shape their careers. In this series, you will hear successful management alums discuss their career journeys, offer career insights, and how San Diego State University faculty and experiences help shape the professionals they are today. Well, welcome everybody to the next in our series of alumni videos featuring graduates from the San Diego State Management Program. Today, we're thrilled to have Mark Pecota with us. Mark is a graduate of the Entrepreneurship specialization. So Mark, in advance, thanks for your time. We appreciate you joining us.
Of course. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay. So Mark, I think maybe start with just when you graduated and tell us what you're doing today.
Sure. I graduated back in 2012. Now I am the CEO and co-founder of LaunchBoom. So we work with entrepreneurs, early stage companies, and we help them take their product ideas, validate them in the market. Then we launch them on crowdfunding websites like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. And we help scale their brands using e-commerce.
Ah, interesting. So I think a lot of students who are either entering the entrepreneurship specialization or thinking about it would be really interested in just understanding how you actually get started and how you personally decided that you wanted to be an entrepreneur. Can you share some of your thoughts on that?
Sure. Yeah. It's an interesting question because it's like, I feel like there was always a piece of me that had entrepreneurial traits where, I wanted to carve my own path out in the world. And I think part of it was, honestly, looking back at my father and then also my grandfather, because it started back with my grandfather starting a company that still exists today called Valley Services Electronics, or VSE. My dad actually just retired, but he had taken over after my grandfather had started it. And so even growing up in an entrepreneurial environment, I feel like was always, definitely had an influence on me. And at the beginning, I felt like my entrepreneurial path was more down actually being a musician. I started playing guitar back in 8th grade. And even up to San Diego State, I thought that's what I was going to do. I changed from guitar over to music production and DJing. My dad wasn't too happy about that, but and was doing that. And so I always knew I wanted to do something like on my own, like forging my own path. And it wasn't until actually my senior year that I decided that I wanted to go in a different direction in terms of my entrepreneurial path that didn't have to do with music. But it started young, I guess, to go back to your question, like the desire to do something entrepreneurial.
Okay, great. Well, I understand your company's gone through some pretty rapid growth since you founded it. Maybe you could share a little bit about what it's like to run a company, what it's like to be the CEO of a company that's been around for a little while now, but like almost day to day, what are the kinds of things you get involved with?
It definitely has changed. Even if looking back 1 year ago, what I'm doing day to day is a lot different. And sometimes I even find myself like pinching myself because it doesn't seem real, how much it has changed. Just to put it in perspective, at the beginning of 2020, we had 27 people on our team. And then today we have just shy of 60. I think we have 57 people on our team today. And we're hiring a few more. So a lot of we were always growing since when we started 2015, but we had, like you said, pretty rapid growth last year. I'd say there were a few factors that had to do with that. One of them was we actually did benefit from COVID, thankfully, because a lot of businesses did not. It seems like, just a quick commentary on COVID, it seems like it either really benefited some businesses or really, really hurt them. There wasn't a lot of middle ground there. But since e-commerce in general had a massive benefit because of COVID, we definitely rode that wave. And so going back to your question now, a year ago, I wasn't doing quite as much, I would say. I was even more involved in the weeds. I was still setting the strategic vision of the company, working with some of the management, but we have a completely different management layer today than we did even a year ago. So a lot of my time today is even spent on a day-to-day basis working with our directors and managers on the different divisions of the company and making sure that the objectives that we're setting, both long-term, I would say like year out, even further than that, and even more so on the quarterly objectives, like we're on path or on the right path and moving towards those, or if we're not, pivoting and adjusting what those may be. So I would say I'm in quite a few meetings right now on a day-to-day basis, which isn't always my favorite thing to do. I'll be perfectly honest with you. But it definitely there is an important piece of it. And I'm trying to make my days not just meaningless meetings. These are like real, meaningful meetings that need to happen. But it's a lot of strategy, vision work, and like kind of pointing things in the right direction or helping support people point things in the right direction.
Okay. Well, good. Well, this is, one of the things that the management program likes to kind of prides itself on is that, management is really kind of the human side of business, and it sounds like you've had to scale your leadership. So maybe you could share, what did San Diego State, if anything, add to the way that you lead today and maybe laid a foundation for your leadership today?
Well, I would say San Diego State, the most value I got out of San Diego State in terms of my entrepreneurial career was the people in general that was there. So it started to teach me how important the network and just quality people like is in general. Like a quick experience share on that. When I made the transition from thinking I was going to do music to something else, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I got really involved with Entrepreneur Society, which is a club that I'm assuming still exists, but the club there, and just really got involved in the community, in the entrepreneurial community, both alumni that were being brought back and current students and faculty. And it really started to show me just how important the people side of things were. Not necessarily, that wasn't really so much a lesson of, having like great employees or like the talent, density of the company or anything, or HR lessons. But I think it was like a time to learn a principle, like a core principle that people are the foundation of everything. And I've honestly like kept that through the whole entire time of building my company, both in terms of not only like the people that we try to attract to work for us, to the clients we have, to the partners we work with. It's really about people that share the same values as you, like are like very talented and skilled as well. And so that started, I would say, that really started going in my senior year at San Diego State was when I really started to experience that.
Okay, now that's good to hear. I think, the Entrepreneurial Society is still thriving. And I think an important aspect of any student's experience is college experience is try to get some exposure and working knowledge and actually join and be an active member. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
What do you like best about being an entrepreneur?
When it comes down to it, I think entrepreneurship has the most impact and the most ability to actually lead to change in the world. And I get to do that every day. So, it's a pretty, I think, powerful statement right there that like literally changing the world through business, through entrepreneurial activity. And from my experience, that's very much true, where it's not only shaping people's lives around me, from the clients we get to work with and in our business. We like literally change people's lives. Like these are like, they have these ideas for products and they get to have them like come to life, and like reading or talking to clients about like how we have changed their lives is super powerful. But then when I stop and reflect and think about like, okay, we've changed their lives, but then who else has been affected because of that? Like the ripple effect that happens because of the value that our company provided. And there's just so many examples of that. You can look at our employees' lives, partners' lives, my life, and the ripple effect that that has. So I think it has the most, entrepreneurship has like the ability to have the most impact on the world.
Okay. Well, that's really, sounds like that adds a lot of energy and job satisfaction to what you do. So that's really helpful. Tell me, is there anything you don't like other than sitting in a lot of meetings?
Meetings. Yeah, well, I think there's almost like a paradox here, because it's like a lot of the things that, like all the opportunity that is in front of me and I get to even participate in, is also directly related to like the stress that I feel. And this is just my personal experience of it. And it's like a challenge that I face, but I also think a lot of other entrepreneurs face it as well, which is the stress. I mean, or even just like dealing with a lot, like the overwhelm, where it is a challenge every day that like I choose to go up against, of really like a challenge against myself and my own mind and my ability to even at times like learn how to let go and relax and not be maybe in such a state of fear, or overwhelm. And so I think that, again, it's the reason why I say it's a paradox, because that one part of me loves that challenge of the challenge and the opportunity. And then another part of me kind of hates it at times, you know, if I'm like having trouble like sleeping at night, or just feeling like overwhelming stress because of a challenging situation we have. That can be difficult, but it's like the yin and yang, right? You can't really have one without the other. Okay, that's good. How about as we wrap up, just picture the whole auditorium, say, of management majors that are sitting here trying to figure out what they want to do. What advice would you give them? For me, like it comes down to, and I think this applies to starting your own business, or starting your own career, or whatever it may be. It's starting to get really clear on what do you want. And I think this is really simple to say, and it's not easy to do. And it does, but I think even asking the question of where do I want to be, or what do I want to have, or what skills do I want to learn, let's say 5-10 years from now, and doing some vision work and trying to think of like, where do you want to be? That type of reflection, I think, is really powerful, and something that I think should be kept, is a good habit to have throughout your life in general. But I do think that, I'll talk from my own experience, I don't think I did enough of that when I was even graduating college. Like I still was able to find my path and everything like that. But it wasn't until I started to really stop and think about what do I really want and what vision do I have for my life, that actually my whole trajectory for my life changed. We didn't really talk about this in the interview, but just really quickly after school, like I started a company called Label Creative. It took about 3-4 years for me to realize that like I did not want to do that. And it wasn't until I did that vision work that we completely changed the company over to LaunchBoom into something that was way more fulfilling. And so I think that asking that question will lead down the correct path, whether it be your career or starting a business. It can be a really, really powerful question to ask. Great. No, that's excellent advice. Well, I want to thank you again for participating. It's always great to see alumni that are willing to come back and help out our next generation of Aztec business students and management majors. So thanks again, and we appreciate your time. Of course. Yeah, anytime.